Hello and welcome to this week's episode of What the Hell is Andrew Talking About? I'm just kidding, that's every time I upload a video. Hello Internet, it's AndrewMycol and welcome to this week's episode of Power Rangers Beast Morphers episode 6, where I review every week's Power Rangers Beast Morphers episode. And this time, because you guys have complained long enough, I am going to be putting in some photos in this video so that way you guys can no longer have to deal with trying to imagine what is possibly going on. So, if you are new around here, make sure you subscribe so that way you don't miss anything. Tell your friends that I make videos because, well, more people here means more of my ego gets a little bit bigger. I'm just kidding. We start off this week's episode at the secret base, where the drone from last episode was being held, and that the main villains want to go back and try to get that main drone so that way they can get in there. And so, the first picture, which you'll see right here, the clowns went to try to, get their rocket going, and then all of a sudden, boom! It just flies off everywhere, going left and right, and it crashes into a tree. What can you expect from Comedy Relief? So, after this, Devin then puts some more effects into his rocket, and then, of course, Robbie says, I don't know, your rocket's gonna crash and do something. And, of course, he was right, it crashed and everything, but Devin did not want to admit it. And so he basically told Robbie, yo, dude, let it go. I'm the leader here. So we got a little bit of tension from Devin. I don't know why that was the main thing. And in the cyber dimension, Blaze and Roxy try to steal back the Giga Drone from last episode that the Rangers had put in their secret base. So I wonder how they're going to do that. Devin is then playing in a simulator with Ravi and Zoe where they're practicing morphing up into the Megazord. That's right, in this episode we get the Megazord, and if you want to see what it looks like, make sure you stay until the end of the episode. So, Devin is obviously trying to get everything going. Zoe gets into her transformation, Ravi gets into his transformation, and Devin, instead of transforming, fires at the enemy. And then when Devin tries morphing up, the main mission fails because Devin tried to go in for the hit and then it fails, but then it's like when he does it, he fails because he didn't listen to his team, but he makes it sound like as if he knows what he's doing. And so when he says, dude, I got this, I know what I'm doing, it makes it seem less of Devin trying to be a really toxic leader into Devin not knowing what the hell he's doing and acting like he knows what he's doing. Commander Shaw was talking to Devin and she said to him, just because you are a leader and just because you got good instincts does not mean that you can't listen to the team. And so because of that, it's like this is the main problem that they're going to face in this episode. Not in the whole season, but just this episode. And then when Ben and Betty then go off and find the rocket, Roxy finds them. Then we get to our first break, which lasted 8 minutes. So we got a kind of solid start into what we might expect for this episode. Then, when we get back from this first break is when things start picking up. So when we come back, Roxy shoots off one of the rocket engines from that rocket that Ben and Betty had miscalculated and fired everywhere. When they did it, that rocket blasted open the door to get into where the secret base was. I'm at a blank brain part, I'm sorry. I am not thinking today. Anyways, and then the villain that Roxy finds is Lock Meltodron, or I think it's called Meltodron or something like that. And so Meltodron then gets through all of the locks and is able to find the main hangar where the main drone is. And so the Rangers find the hangar and it's fighting time. But before they do that, Roxy takes all the Morphex that they have and plugs it into the Giga Drone that they're trying to revive and turn evil again. And so, while they are fighting, Devin is like, okay, how are we going to get out of this? And then Ravi takes Devin and chucks him out the door. And he says, there you go, there's your answer. And so, obviously, Ravi and Zoe are now going to have to fight the Giga Drone, while Devin is now trying to figure out how exactly he's going to take down these villains. So what Devin then does is he gets info from Ravi and he says, all you have to do is get outside and try to break open the door with your Zord. So Devin runs off on his bike and gets in his Zord, and that's how he's able to attempt to get the door open. And then, before Ravi and Zoe escape, they're fighting this drone person. And then Scrozzle, which is the second in command leader, that's the enemy guy, he goes sneaks around and tries to find something And then he finds what I thought was a Ranger helmet. I swear, I thought it was a Ranger helmet, but I think it was just a robot head that they could use for another Megazord. But we'll see about that. And then they test it, and maybe a new Ranger is coming. That's what I thought, because when I first saw this helmet, I swear I thought we were going to get another Ranger. And so the Giga Drone is then shifted into battle, and then Smash and Jax then power up their Zords to help Devin, and then Devin gets enough space, and then lowers the little hose that the big Giga Drone, the big Meltadron had, and they open the door, and Zoe and Ravi escape. And so, with that, what they didn't do is they take out the main villain of the week, and then they go into their Zords where Smash and Jax are. And now we have our 3 Zords. And then as soon as they defeat that drone, the Giga Drone that they were trying to make sure didn't escaped, but he wanted to fight. And so, guess what we get? It's Megazord time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what our Megazord looks like for the season. And I will say this. It's got a lot of swords because obviously Jax has a lot of, helicopter blades and it's all over the arms and everything. So I can't complain about that. It looks pretty cool. Compared to last season, it looks a bit better without that red, blue, and pink kind of color. We get red, blue, and yellow, and it looks pretty good. With the Megazord, they easily defeat the 2 drones with Devin using his Cheetah Blaster and taking out both of the villains. And our Rangers win for the day. And so Min and Buddy then come back to a surprise that the Rangers had for him. And the surprise was that the Rangers had fixed Commander's rocket. And guess what happened to the rocket this time? Nope. This time, it's just the rocket blasted off, and that was the end of the episode. So, we get to the end of the episode. Now, here's what I think. So, we are at the end of the episode, and honestly, this was a little interesting because it's kind of like it's episode 3, where we just had that one thing where Zoe is trying to help the environment, and she's trying to, do everything in her power to make sure that she can help the environment. But with this one, we got the Megazord, and every episode, from what I've seen, it seems like there's something different that happens in every episode. Like, it's not the same thing that happens week after week after week. And what happens is that it's really building up to some unpredictability that you can see with this season, is that 6 episodes in, every episode is different. Like, you don't get the same storyline every single week. Like, you don't get something that's building into something. It's just every episode seems like as if it has a different feel to it. Like, they're doing something, but they're not building to the same thing, if you know what I mean. Like, it kind of feels like this episode was pretty good, but it reminded me of last week. Like, we just got the Devin and his father trying to bond through car washing and all that, and then the mayor being proud of the Rangers. That came out of nowhere because the week after that was the love angle from Ravi and Roxy. And so far we've seen some inconsistent writing where it's like, one episode is this person, one episode is this person. We're really looking at this, looking at this episode alone, it was pretty good. But trying to fit it in terms of like how this would fit in the season, you can't really do it because everything's just inconsistent. And while I will say it does add some interest to every episode that comes by, I will say if you're trying to hook somebody that isn't a Power Ranger fan, if they just see this episode, they're going to think that the Red Ranger doesn't know what he's doing, but then he has a lot to learn, where it feels like for anyone who is not a Ranger fan, that would see the Blue Ranger and the Yellow Ranger, seeing them two being the big leaders, and the Red Ranger shouldn't be a Red Ranger. But if you combine it with the season, it's like, okay, for some reason, every single episode seems a little weird and a little different from what we've seen. So what I would say about this episode, it was good. I enjoyed it. I had fun watching it. With that being said, I'm going to give this episode probably a 3. This is just my opinion on this one. It wasn't as detailed or as good as last episode, but it was still pretty solid. And we did indeed get the Megazord, which I knew was coming. So had I not known when that was coming, then this episode would have been like a 3.7 or a 3.8 or something like that. I would probably give this episode a 3.6 because of the fact that this episode it was solid, but because it's so inconsistent, it's like you can't really base it and try to judge it for every episode. And where I would put this, I think in my timeline, I got 1, 4, 5, 2, 3. I would probably put it in between 5 and 3 because of the fact that this episode reminded me of episode 3, but it felt like episode 6 did more in terms of the Ranger storyline with the Megazord now and the robot head, sparking some interest for next episode because we might see something with that, we may not. It just depends on where they go for next episode. So that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Comment down below if this was better, me having these pictures in here, and you guys can understand what I'm saying. Hopefully, Hasbro doesn't take down this video, and I'm just taking one for the team. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's review. And until next time, I'm AndrewMycol, and I'll see you guys next time. Thumbs up.